There are things she wishes you just know. Things she dreams of you doing without her ever needing to say a word. You think she's silent because she doesn't care? No, she's silent because she wants you to care enough to notice. In a world of endless words and meaningless gestures, the man who acts with intuition and intent, that's the man she never forgets. So today, I'm pulling back the curtain. These are 4 things women want you to do, but will never tell you. Listen close. This is the difference between being liked and being desired. Take the lead without asking. She doesn't want to plan every date. She doesn't want to always decide where to eat. What she craves is a man who takes the wheel with confidence, who says, be ready at 7, we're going somewhere special. It's not about control. It's about direction. And when a man moves with purpose, she feels safe enough to soften, protect her energy. It's not always about solving her problems. Sometimes it's just listening, truly listening, not fixing, not judging, just holding space when she unloads. She won't ask for this, but she needs a man who doesn't add chaos to her life. Her world attests her every day. Be the place where she can breathe. Compliment her mind, not just her looks. She knows she's beautiful. She's heard it before. But if you tell her how her perspective made you pause, if you say, what you just said, that was powerful, you're doing what most men never do, seeing her beyond the surface. And when you see a woman's mind, she opens her heart. Notice the little things without being told. When she changes her hair, wears something new, or looks at you a little longer than usual. Notice it when she's quiet but says she's fine. Notice that too. She wants you to pay attention, not to what she says, but to what she feels. The most powerful form of love is awareness without instruction. So no, she may never say these things out loud, but now you know. If you lead with confidence, if you protect her peace, if you value her mind, if you pay attention to the silent details, you won't just win her over, you'll connect with her soul, and in a world of temporary attention, you'll be the man she never forgets. Women crave decisive leadership. They want a man who makes plans confidently. It's not about domination, control, or outdated gender roles. It's about emotional security, direction, and the silent reassurance that comes when a man knows where he's going and invites her to come along. When a man acts with certainty, he creates space for a woman to relax into her feminine energy. That doesn't mean she can't lead herself. Of course she can. Most women today are strong, capable, and independent. But being capable doesn't mean she wants to carry the emotional and mental load all the time. It's exhausting to constantly plan, decide, and guide. So when she meets a man who takes initiative, it's not just attractive, it's a relief. When a man says, be ready at 7, I've got something planned, it sounds simple, but to her, it means he thought ahead. He considered her time, her preferences, and her comfort. He cared enough to lead. That one act of decisiveness communicates volumes, that he's intentional, that he's grounded, and that he doesn't need her to constantly direct the flow of their relationship. Most women don't want to be the one dragging the relationship forward. They don't want to feel like they're always pushing or pulling. They want to feel like they can exhale. Because he's stepping up. Indecision, passivity, and over-accommodation kill attraction faster than most men realize. Asking a woman 50 times where she wants to go or what she wants to eat might seem polite, but it comes across as hesitation, and hesitation doesn't build trust, it builds pressure. When a man constantly seeks her input on every small decision, he thinks he's being respectful, but what she actually feels is burdened. She doesn't want to be responsible for everything. She wants to be included, not relied on to carry the entire dynamic. Leadership doesn't mean excluding her voice, it means creating structure. She can still give input, but she's not required to carry the emotional labor of always deciding. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel whether a man has direction in his life or not when he leads in small ways, choosing a restaurant, setting a date, solving a problem. It signals something deeper, that he can lead himself, and if he can lead himself, He might just be someone she can trust enough to build something real with. Leadership shows up in the little things: booking the reservation, planning the weekend, giving clear answers, making a decision and standing by it, not because he needs to control, but because he's capable of taking action when it counts. The truth is, confidence is magnetic, and confidence shows itself through action. A man who avoids making decisions is often a man afraid to fail, but failure isn't what scares her. It's your avoidance that does. She'd rather see you try, lead with heart, and stumble than constantly play it safe and indecisive. Women don't expect perfection. They expect presence. They expect a man who doesn't shrink under pressure. A man who says, here's what I think we should do, and owns it. That ownership builds trust. That kind of leadership allows her to feel like she's with someone solid. And in that space, something powerful happens. She softens. She lets go of the need to always be in control. She starts to feel protected, valued, and understood. That's not weakness. That's connection. That's the dance between masculine direction and feminine trust. When a man leads confidently, he's not just impressing her, he's liberating her. He's saying, without words, you can trust me to move this forward. And when a woman feels that, she doesn't forget it. She leans in, she invests, she flourishes, because finally, she's found a man who doesn't just say he's a leader. He shows it. Emotional presence matters more than problem solving. Just listening can be powerful. Most men are conditioned to fix things. It's hardwired into their identity from a young age. If there's a problem, solve it. If something's broken, repair it. If someone's hurting, figure out how to stop the pain. That instinct is noble, even protective. But when it comes to relationships, especially with women, it can miss the mark. And women don't always want a solution. Sometimes they just want to be seen, heard, held emotionally, and that requires a different kind of strength, a quiet, grounded presence that says, I'm here with you no matter what. When a woman opens up about her day, her struggles, or her emotions, she's not always asking you to intervene. In fact, trying to immediately fix things can sometimes feel like you're dismissing the emotion behind what she's sharing. She doesn't need the problem to disappear as much as she needs to feel that you actually get it, that you're not rushing to move past her feelings because they make you uncomfortable, that you're not trying to minimize her experience by offering quick advice or surface level encouragement. She needs you to stay in that emotional space with her, not because it's easy, but because it shows you care enough to feel with her. There's a quiet power in being fully present when someone's hurting or vulnerable, to sit with someone in their pain without flinching, without turning away, without trying to speed it up. That's rare. And it's something women crave deeply. They want to feel emotionally safe. They want to know that if they show you their messy side, the anxiety, the stress, the fears, you don't try to shut it down or steer around it. You'll just be there, listening, breathing with them, letting them feel what they feel without judgment or interruption. Men often underestimate how healing it is for a woman to feel truly understood. A lot of emotional pain doesn't come from the actual problem. It comes from feeling alone in it. So when you listen deeply with your full attention, you're giving her something far more powerful than a solution. You're giving her connection. You're saying you don't have to go through this alone. And that changes everything, because when a woman feels emotionally connected, she softens, she trusts, she opens her heart more fully. Listening doesn't mean being passive, it means being fully engaged, making eye contact, nodding, responding with empathy, not logic. It's about listening to understand, not to respond. You don't have to have all the answers. In fact, it's better if you don't pretend to. Just say, that sounds really hard, or I hear you, and I'm here with you. Those simple words hold more weight than a dozen well-meaning suggestions. They show that your heart is open, that your presence is strong, and that you're not afraid of her emotional depth. This kind of presence builds deep intimacy. It tells her that her emotions aren't too much, that she's not too complicated, that her feelings are valid and safe with you. That's how you earn her trust. Not by being the smartest or most strategic, but by being the most emotionally available. It's not about rescuing her. It's about reassuring her, and in doing so, you become the one man she can truly lean on not because you fixed her problems, but because you never ran from them. You stood by her, shoulder to shoulder, and let her know she's not alone. That's the power of presence. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it doesn't need to prove anything. It simply shows up. And for a woman who spent her life feeling unheard or misunderstood, that kind of presence is unforgettable. It creates a bond that no quick fix ever could. Complement her intelligence and emotional depth, not just her physical beauty. While physical compliments are nice and often appreciated, they are also common. Every woman, especially if she's attractive, hears about her looks regularly. Strangers comment on her smile, friends mention her style, and social media floods her with attention based on her appearance. But what many women crave and rarely receive is acknowledgement of who they are beyond what's on the surface. They want to be seen not just as beautiful, but as brilliant, as thoughtful, as emotionally layered, as whole. When you notice a woman's intelligence or emotional insight, you're doing something that most men overlook. You're telling her that you're paying attention to the real her. You're listening to what she says, how she thinks, and what she feels. That kind of recognition penetrates deeper than any compliment about her hair, her outfit, or her body. It touches something within her that says, "You see me." And when a woman feels truly seen, it sparks something powerful: trust, admiration, and emotional intimacy. It's easy to tell her she's beautiful. It takes more intention to say, "The way you handled that conversation was incredibly graceful," or "I love how you see the world, your perspective is rare." When you compliment her thoughts, her creativity, or the way she articulates emotion, you're not just flirting, you're validating her identity. You're communicating that her value extends far beyond aesthetics, that her mind and her emotional presence are equally, if not more, attractive to you. Emotional depth in a woman is often the result of experience, introspection, and resilience. When she opens up about her past, her dreams, her fears, or her emotional growth, that's not weakness, it's strength. And when you recognize that strength and tell her, "I admire how self-aware you are," or "It's rare to meet someone so emotionally intelligent," you're reinforcing her worth in a way few men do. You're telling her that what's going on inside her is just as captivating as what you see on the outside. These kinds of compliments don't just flatter, they build connection. They make her feel safe to open up even more, to trust you with her vulnerability. And in turn, they elevate you, because now you're no longer just another guy complimenting her looks. You're the man who noticed her depth, who valued it, who saw the woman behind the smile and made her feel not only wanted, but understood. Most men focus on what they can see, but the rare ones focus on what they can feel. When a woman talks and you actually listen, not just to the words, but to the emotions behind them, you gain access to a part of her world that most never reach. Complimenting her mind shows emotional maturity. It shows that you're not intimidated by her intelligence or depth, but drawn to it. That's magnetic. That's irresistible. And don't underestimate how long those words stay with her. A compliment on her beauty might make her smile for a moment, but a compliment that honors her emotional intelligence or her inner world, that lingers. It stays in her mind, echoes in her heart, and builds a bridge between you that's grounded in something real. Because at the end of the day, every woman wants to feel beautiful, but even more than that, she wants to feel valued for who she truly is. And when you give her that, you don't just impress her, you move her. Pay attention to the unspoken, mood shifts, subtle changes, small details. That's where true connection lives. Most people hear words, but few truly listen to what's being said between the lines. And in relationships, what goes unsaid often carries more weight than what's spoken aloud. Women are incredibly intuitive by nature. They read energy, tone, body language, eye contact. They feel shifts in your presence before you even realize you've changed. And they wish, often silently, that you would notice the same in them. When you learn to tune into those small signals, you unlock a deeper level of understanding that most men never access. She won't always tell you when something's off. She might say she's fine even when she's not. Not because she wants to lie or play games, but because she wants to see if you're paying attention. She wants to know if you care enough to look past the surface and recognize the truth. When her tone softens or stiffens, when she laughs but her eyes look tired, when she pulls away ever so slightly, you have to be alert to those shifts. They're not random. They're signs, signals, invitations to step closer, to ask, to care. When a woman feels like you notice the little things, she feels valued in a way that words alone can't give her. She feels like you see her, not just the image she projects to the world, but her internal landscape. That's where intimacy is built. Not in grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but in moments when she thinks, he noticed. When you remember how she likes her coffee, when you catch the way she brushes her hair behind her ear when she's nervous, when you sense she's overwhelmed before she even speaks it out loud, that kind of presence doesn't just impress her, it makes her feel safe. And safety for a woman is everything. Emotional safety allows her to open up more, to express more freely, to stop guarding herself. When she knows you're watching, not to judge, but to understand, something shifts in her. She relaxes into trust. She begins to let go of the need to control or over-explain. She begins to believe that you're not just listening, you're tuned in, that you're not just near her, you're with her. It's easy to miss the details when you're distracted, but when you slow down and pay attention, those small observations become powerful connectors. They say, I care enough to look deeper. That's how she feels seen. And once a woman feels seen, she remembers it. Long after the moment has passed, she'll hold on to that feeling. Because in a world that constantly demands her to be strong, beautiful, and composed, she rarely finds someone who's simply attentive. Being attentive doesn't mean you have to be perfect or read her mind. It means you're curious, present, willing to observe, to ask, and to notice what others miss. It's the way you say, you've been quiet today. What's going on? It's the way you hold her hand when she seems anxious without her asking. It's the way you recognize when her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. These are the quiet moments where love is felt the loudest. When you develop the skill to notice mood shifts, subtle changes, and emotional cues, you don't just become more attractive, you become unforgettable. Because most people are too self-absorbed to pay attention to anyone else's inner world. When you rise above that, when you prove that you're not just physically present but emotionally aware, you set yourself apart, and in doing so, you give her a rare gift, the experience of being truly known. She tests for consistency. How you show up repeatedly tells her who you really are. You may think you're being judged on the big moments, the dates, the gifts, the charm you show when you're trying to impress, but in reality, what matters more is how you act when no one's watching, when it's inconvenient, when there's nothing in it for you. That's what she's paying attention to. She doesn't need perfection, but she needs to know that who you are today won't disappear tomorrow. That's where trust is born, not in grand gestures, but in steady presence. Consistency is the measure of character. Anyone can be kind once. Anyone can be thoughtful when it's easy. Anyone can say the right things to get what they want. But can you keep showing up? Can you be patient on the days she's not at her best? Can you support her when she's overwhelmed, not just when she's glowing and vibrant? She's not just watching how high you fly, she's watching how grounded you stay. Your stability tells her if she can lean on you. Your repetition tells her if your intentions are real. Women don't test you to be cruel. They test for consistency because they're trying to feel safe. Most women have been through enough to know that sweet words can mean nothing and charm can wear off fast. So she watches your patterns. She listens to the tone you use when you're frustrated. She notices if you remember the things you promised. She tracks. Follow through on the little stuff, because the little stuff always reflects the big stuff. And you may not even realize it, but every time you keep your word, every time you show up the same way, respectful, honest, present, you're passing that test. You're proving that you're not just acting, you're being. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real and showing that who you are in week 1 is the same man you are in month 3. Men are emotional pattern readers. When your energy shifts, when your attention fades, when your effort flips, she feels it before you even say a word. She doesn't need evidence. She feels it in her gut. This is why ghosting, mixed signals, and inconsistency feel so damaging to her. It's not just the confusion, it's the betrayal of her emotional investment. She started to believe in your words, to trust your presence, to open her heart. And when your actions no longer match what you first showed her, it leaves her doubting not just you, but her own intuition. That's the cost of inconsistency. It erodes emotional security, even if you didn't mean to hurt her. On the flip side, when you stay consistent, even in the mundane, you become a rare kind of man. You become dependable, and that's sexy in a world full of maybes. You show her that you're not just pursuing her for validation or excitement. You're invested in the reality of her. You're choosing her every day, not just when it's convenient. That's what makes her feel safe enough to let her guard down, to be vulnerable, to give you the kind of love that most men never get to experience. So understand this, she's not waiting for you to impress her. She's waiting to see if the man you showed her at the beginning is the man who sticks around when it's not fun, not easy, and not flattering. Because when you show up consistently, emotionally, mentally, and physically, you tell her everything she needs to know. Not with promises, not with poetry, but with your pattern. And patterns speak louder than words ever will. What women want most is to feel seen, safe, and special without always having to ask. It's not about gifts, grand gestures, or reciting perfect lines. It's about presence. It's about understanding that deep down, most women carry an emotional burden they rarely voice. They've been overlooked, misunderstood, or taken for granted at some point in their lives. And what they yearn for, more than anything, is a man who notices them, not just their appearance, but their essence, a man who chooses to understand their heart without them. Having to explain it every time, feeling seen, goes far beyond compliments or attention. It means you notice the quiet shifts in her mood. It means you remember the details she shared about her past, her dreams, her fears. It means that you take a genuine interest in who she is, not just what she does for you. Women want to feel like they're not invisible in the relationship, like their emotions, thoughts, and energy matter. When she tells you about her day, she's not just updating you, she's inviting you into her inner world. If you brush it off or get distracted, she feels dismissed. But if you listen with presence, even to the small stuff, she feels valued. Feeling safe doesn't just mean physical safety, it means emotional security. Can she express her truth around you without fear of judgment or backlash? Can she cry without being told she's overreacting? Can she speak her mind without being shut down or mocked? When a woman knows she can be herself, raw, honest, and unfiltered, without losing your respect, she relaxes. That's when she gives more of her heart. That's when she trusts you with the parts of her she usually hides. If she has to constantly ask for reassurance, for space to speak, for emotional respect, then she doesn't feel truly safe. And without safety, no love can thrive. And then there's the desire to feel special, not in the over-the-top, unrealistic fantasy sense, but in the way that says you matter more than anyone else right now. It's in the way you prioritize her, the way you reach for her hand in public, the way you put your phone down when she's talking, the way you look at her like she's the only one in the room. Women want to feel chosen, not as an option, not as a convenience, but as a priority. And again, it's not about dramatic gestures, it's about consistent actions. When you do the little things that make her feel appreciated, it sticks with her. A simple note, a sincere compliment, a reminder that you notice her effort. These moments make her feel like she's more than just another person in your life. She's the person. What makes this powerful is when all three come without her having to constantly ask. Because asking repeatedly wears down a woman's spirit. It makes her feel like she's begging for the basics, and no one wants to beg for love, for attention, for emotional safety. The real magic happens when you anticipate her needs, not because she demanded it, but because you care enough to observe and act. When you give without being prompted, when you listen without being forced, when you care without conditions. That's when she feels seen. That's when she feels safe. That's when she feels special. And when she feels all three, she'll give you the kind of love, loyalty, and passion that only comes from a woman who knows she's finally found someone who gets it. So here's the truth. What women want isn't a mystery, and it isn't hidden behind games or mind reading. It's revealed in the quiet moments, the subtle reactions, the things they don't say out loud. They want you to lead with confidence, not control. They want you to be emotionally present, not just physically there. They want to be valued for their minds and hearts, not just their looks. And they want you to notice what matters most without them always having to ask for it. Because the man who listens without fixing, who pays attention without being told, who shows up the same day after day, that's the man who stands out. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she chooses. Be that man, not just for her, but for the kind of relationship that doesn't just survive, it thrives.